He's just blown it. But King Charles should have been wise to what Prince Harry was always going to do. Prince William was right. I was right. Those witches in the mainstream media like Camilla Tominay were completely wrong. Because within just days of that face-to-face, Prince Harry has given a sick and egregious, a completely false new interview with the hard-left UK newspaper, The Guardian, which admits itself that it hates the monarchy. And within it, Prince Harry stands by his slurs, his smears, his downright lies against the royal family, against the Queen, against Catherine, the Princess of Wales. This man will never learn. He's also declared war with the British government, admitting that he ignored their advice in Ukraine to go and secretly meet Volodymyr Zelensky. Let me repeat, King Charles, your son is a liability. The peace deal has to end. Now, what we're going to do today is analyze the shocking revelations from Prince Harry's new Guardian sit-down with Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network. And trust me, we have a lot to talk about. Here's the headline. My conscience is clear. Prince Harry on Ukraine, his family, and the media. It says exclusive. The Duke talks about the cost of war, his portrayal in the press, and boxing as The Guardian joins him on a visit to Kyiv. And the reporter who was sent with him writes, because of the sheer numbers of wounded, Invictus has become increasingly well known in Ukraine, and Harry, somewhat surprisingly, has achieved cult hero status. So this is very much what Harry's PR team were trying to set out with this interview. They didn't actually want to blow up the peace deal with the British royal family. They wanted to present Harry as some type of hero-like figure in Ukraine. But of course, he couldn't stick to the plan. He couldn't help himself. So The Guardian goes on to say, we accompany him on the journey to the capital, something of a gamble for both sides, as Harry noted. He is suspicious of the media, and The Guardian has long been critical of the monarchy. And over the next 36 hours, we learn a lot, big and small, about this complex, conflicted man. He doesn't like posing for stage photographs, and he doesn't like cycling. I have a bony ass. Yep, that's right, so regal. He likes to box to relieve his frustration. Hitting the hell out of a bag, he says, helps to decompress me. So Brittany, straight away within the introduction of this article, we've got the defiance, we've got the fact that his conscience is clear about everything that he did, including trashing the royal family in the late Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip's dying days. But we've got the anger too, Brittany. Mm-hmm. We've got the fact that he's so angry with the world, he has to punch it out. And I think that is so indicative of the troubled state of this man.
Big headline energy. Days after that tightly staged managed sit-down with King Charles, Prince Harry lit the fuse with a new interview in The Guardian, and critics say he's torpedoed any peace pact before the ink even dried. He doubles down on past claims, waves off the damage with, my conscience is clear, and, per the piece, leans into the angry boxer persona that's become his trademark. William's camp warned this would happen. Charles's allies prayed it wouldn't. And now, here we are. The man who wanted a reset is being branded by detractors as a turncoat to the family and the institution he keeps scorching.
Yes, Dan, when it comes to Harry, like if he was wanting to think that this article would help portray him as a happy man, because he like tries to say that multiple times. No, I'm happy. I like my life and everything. Hitting the heck out of a bag in boxing, for maybe hours on end at home does not convey somebody who is actually happy in their life, that he has to get his aggression out. Throughout this article, I can't believe how catastrophically stupid he himself and his PR team were to think he could pull off a interview like this. But he just reiterated every negative thought about the man. He is angry, he is bitter, he is vindictive, he is spiteful. all of that is still in this article. All of that is still there, despite his happy, tour of the UK just a couple of days ago. This is still the same Harry. He hasn't learned anything. He is still in the throes of this angry, warped person that he is now. And you just can't trust him at this point. He has not learned his lesson, and he has no shame. And I think that's despicable when it comes to his behavior towards his family.
And this interview, by the way, was conducted by Nick Hopkins, who is the executive editor for news at The Guardian, a very senior figure at the left-wing newspaper. And he writes, Brittany, in private, Harry is very informal, padding around in his socks on the train to and from Kiev and making dad jokes. In public, he has a confident voice and an easy charm with strangers, but on his own, he is softly spoken and asks questions about people and about politics. He has views. He is not, he says, the unhappy man some of the press like to portray him as. But yes, he wants to spend more time in the UK. Does he regret putting his side of the story in the very public way he has? No, he doesn't. The key line, my conscience is clear. He talks a little bit about his mother, Diana, and his father too. If Invictus is his professional priority, it seems clear his father is a personal one. So I've got a couple of things to say about that, Brittany. Firstly, very, very notable that throughout this entire time with The Guardian and Harry's total insistence that he is happy, which we'll come to in a moment, just one mention of Meghan Markle. Just one. The guy was with him for a lengthy trip to Ukraine. And then I also think, Brittany, when it comes to the fact that he is now deciding his dad is the priority, he's been battling cancer for well over a year. Can you believe that more than half of you are watching this video but not subscribed? So please do me a huge favor, click the subscribe button now, turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to all of our brand new Outspoken videos.
Yeah, and when it comes to this BBC interview that he did earlier this year, one of the big sticking points for the palace was that he sort of implied that Charles was dying. I don't know how much more time my father has. And now he's basically said the same thing again. And the palace criticized him for it the first time. And then he goes and does it again when he's trying to make amends. The guy just simply can't learn, can't adjust. And he just does not know how to obviously keep his opinions to himself correctly. Like, again, I don't know if his PR team isn't helping him or just watching him fall on his face and laughing at their desks later when they get back. This was just such a huge mistake.
I think they're crying after this, to be honest, because he ignores them. And in fairness, they laid the groundwork. They had the Royal Peace Summit. They secured the meeting with King Charles. All he had to do was play safe in Ukraine, and he could not do it. So Prince Harry goes on. I am very happy with who I am, and I like the life I live. And Nick writes, of The Guardian, the trip to Kiev comes at the end of a busy week for Harry. From Monday to Thursday, he was in the UK undertaking a series of events related to the causes he supports. He also met his father, King Charles, for the first time since February 2024. On an overnight train heading back to Poland, Harry says he thinks the whole week has gone well and feels hopeful about the future. During the trip, some elements of the tabloid press have published stories that left his team with their heads in their hands. It appears to make Harry more certain of the need to take on the papers who have, he says, unfairly targeted him and his family. So Harry says, yes, I have enjoyed the week. I have always loved the UK, and I will always love the UK. It's been good to reconnect with the causes I am passionate about. I've been able to spend some time with people that I have known for so long, it is hard to do it from far away. He adds, it is only in certain elements of the press where you see this talk about me being down or saying I am not smiling. This comes from people who think they know what I am thinking and how I am feeling. They are wrong. I think parts of the British press want to believe that I am miserable, but I am not. I am very happy with who I am, and I like the life that I live. And Nick Hopkins goes on to say if he hasn't always seemed cheerful, then that is hardly surprising given what he has been going through. He says, I have certainly had to deal with some very stressful events over the last 4 years, all caused by him, can I just say. There has been the uncertainty and stress of the litigation and finding out certain things that have really hurt. But he believes there is a disconnect between what is written about him by some commentators and what most other people think. Well, he's wrong about the people, and I'll come to that in just one moment. All the polling shows it. But Brittany, what's so interesting there is this absolute desire to insist. I'm so happy. There's nothing to see here. I promise you, I might look miserable. I might sound miserable. I may have made decisions that will make me miserable by taking completely ridiculous litigation over the course of years. But don't worry. Trust me, I'm happy. These people really don't know what they're talking about. But my God, he reads it. He looks at it. He soaks it in. And what's so fascinating, Brittany, is he has decided to take this battle at a time that, as we have been documenting, actually, the British press, for some ludicrous reason, which we'll come to later, are turning on Prince William and Catherine and turning towards Harry and Meghan. So what's he doing?
Here's the Ukraine flashpoint causing a diplomatic migraine. The Guardian embedded paints a hero on tour picture, Invictus visits, wounded veterans, the whole arc. But then comes the rumor mill, a quiet detour, whispers of a private Zelensky meeting, and chatter that London didn't want that photo op colliding with the foreign secretary's own visit. If that reporting is accurate, critics say it's classic Harry, ignoring advice to grab headlines. And they're using the word traitor for a reason. You don't freelance foreign policy when your father wears the crown. His team wanted a week of service, not spectacle. Instead, the spectacle swallowed the service.
I mean, it's so clear, Dan, that the press in this situation, they're not really Harry's problem. Harry has always been his own problem. He is always his worst enemy, as evidenced in this article. He actually had, you could say, a fairly good week. You are right. Some of the press are sort of moving in his direction. And then he completely and utterly torpedoes himself in this interview. And I'm sorry, but Harry seems to think that all of us and the rest of the world should just regurgitate exactly what his PR team says and not have anything critical to say to him at all. But that's just not life. That's not reality. If he can't accept that as a public figure, then he needs to get out of public life. Things are not going to go his way. And when he opens his mouth, things are really not going to go his way. This train wreck of an interview was totally avoidable if Harry could take a couple of seconds of self-reflection and actually avoid certain situations. But he is deeply unhappy. He is obsessed with the media coverage about him and Meghan Markle. He can't let it go. And it's so clear that despite all his proclamations to the contrary, he strikes me as a deeply unhappy, unfulfilled, angry man. He does not dissuade me of that analysis in the slightest in this interview. So if he was hoping that saying he's happy 12 times will help us believe he's happy, I'm sorry, but I need to see it and not have this totally conflicted man in front of us who's all over the place when it comes to what he's saying and how terrible he's been to his family. I'm just sorry. I don't believe it. And Harry needs to either hire a different PR team or actually listen to his PR team, because this is a wreck.
Now, we know, Brittany, he's reading everything. He's looking at his poll numbers. He knows that it's bad. But again, what he's trying to do is talk us into believing something that isn't true. And we'll come to the fact that these two, Harry and Meghan, lie consistently and then claim that it's only others that are lying in just one moment. But he says in this interview to The Guardian, I feel a lot of support from the British public. Even now, when I feel like I have been destroyed by certain members of the British press, it serves them to think that the British public feels the same way about me as they do. But I don't feel that, and I don't see that. For as long as I have known, certain elements of the British press have tried to speak on behalf of the nation. I think they are out of touch with the nation on lots of things. They hope to bring the public with them, but I think the British public can speak and think for themselves. Now, as a Brittany, this makes me utterly incandescent with rage, because Harry has no idea about the challenges facing the United Kingdom. He has no idea about the political climate. He has no idea about the tinderbox that his country is in because of the hard left politics that he supports. So he doesn't get it, right? But I'm also sorry, Brittany, He is delusional. He's in complete la-la land. I mean, this is not some type of one-off poll, Brittany. Every single poll from every reputable polling agency over the past 5 years shows that other than his own wife and Prince Andrew, he is by far the least popular member of the British royal family. The British public have completely turned on him. He has gone from hero, because I remember the days when he used to top the polls and sometimes even beat Queen Elizabeth II in terms of popularity numbers. But that is not the case. So I'm not saying the British public are rude to him when he's out and about, but come on, Brittany, he is meeting hand-picked Brits at hand-picked events.
Exactly. It's actually kind of funny, Dan. I think I've spent more time in the UK in the last couple of years than Harry has.
You have. You absolutely have.
Yes, it's crazy for him to go, oh my gosh, well, the British public love me and, I know what's going on in my country. It's like you don't live there. You don't spend any time there. And every time you go, it's antagonistic and angry. And I'm sorry, but I just don't see this idea that there's this huge underbelly somewhere in the UK of this massive support for Prince Harry. I just don't think it exists. I think it's completely and utterly delusional in Harry's mind. Both him and Meghan Markle live in the land of delusion. I think they prop each other up with the lies they tell each other, to be quite honest, in my personal opinion. And so when it comes to this, I think Harry is just completely and utterly just in this weird vein of hoping that he's right. Because it's a very self-obsessed the way he talks about it. He's like, I believe, I think, I know, whatever. It's like, you don't really know. And to be quite honest, the British press has actually been rather nice to you recently. Yeah. And the American press has not been so nice to you.
But Brittany, even though the British press have been nice, what he's missing is the British press are completely out of touch where the British public are on this. You only have to look at the Daily Mail comments on those articles by Amanda Patel and Liz Jones to see that actually the press are completely far more favourable to Prince Harry than the public is. But look, then we get to some of the key news lines, Brittany. So Nick Hopkins in The Guardian asks him, would he like to spend more time in the UK to bring his children one day despite the issues over his security arrangements? And Harry answers, yes, I would. Then, breaking the confidence of the king, Brittany, something he promised he wouldn't do, he adds, this week has definitely brought that closer. Then it's almost like Nick Hopkins is trying to protect Harry because he says Harry won't talk about his father. Well, he just did. We know he just did. But he seems to suggest he wants and needs to see his father more often. Over the coming year, he says, the focus really has to be on my dad. So, Brittany, it is this passage of the article which completely blows up the peace deal because what he's doing, Brittany, is actually going one step further than he did in the British Bashing Corporation and suggesting that Charles might not survive more than 1 year. Trust me, Buckingham Palace is going to be utterly furious about this.
Family fallout, nuclear. In the same breath, he says he's very happy. The subtext keeps drifting back to Charles, how much time is left, how urgently he needs to see his father, and palace insiders are fuming. They hated it when he implied timelines before. Hearing it again reads like pressure, not compassion. And when trust is already at zero, even a stray line becomes a breach. Meghan's name barely appears, supporters say by design. Skeptics say it screams distance. Either way, it's gasoline on William's red line. You cannot reconcile with a brother who keeps talking out of school, then insisting it's truth.
Exactly. I was really shocked when I saw this because, again, we know he got his hand slapped after the BBC interview by the palace saying, we don't want you to talk about whatever length of life Charles has. Obviously, there's many great treatments for cancer. We don't want to overly speculate. But Harry is there telling us that at the most his dad has a couple of years. I mean, it's horrible what he's doing. He's undermining his father's reign, his legacy, everything. And if he wanted a peace agreement, I mean, he just blew it up. Harry did. He just completely and utterly bulldozed whatever his PR team, Harry himself in the meeting of his father, wanted to do by doing the exact thing they've already told him not to do. And it's just like, can he not get it? Is he just thick? I don't understand because he should know better than this. He's been a public figure for a long time.
He's also arrogant. And the combination of being stupid and arrogant is very, very dangerous as a public figure. Then another key line from the article. Harry mentions his wife, Meghan, only once by name. A reference to something she told him about how telling the truth is, quote, the most efficient way to live. Sorry, I just have to laugh. I mean, it's the most extraordinary thing I've ever heard. She said, just stick to the truth. It is the thing I always fall back on, always. And if you think like that, who would be stupid enough to lie? It takes up too much time and effort. I mean, Brittany, this just proves this couple gaslight each other. The fact that he's only mentioned Meghan Markle once is incredibly telling, by the way, about how bad things are. But Brittany, come on, everyone watching this knows. No couple in royal history, maybe no couple in celebrity history, has lied more egregiously and more obviously and more provably than Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They lied about racism within the royal family. They lied about where they really got married. They lied about comments by Catherine and Charles. I mean, I could literally list 100 things they've lied about very provably.
Yes, and they lie liberally, especially Meghan. In my personal opinion, watching the Bloomberg interview recently, and she just lies. That's just her kind of default lies, exaggerates, what have you, to always place herself and make herself look better. But it's just clear these two gaslight each other to infinity, and they live in this deluded bubble where reality doesn't exist. It's a Sussex fantasy world all the time. And it's like, well, no wonder they're failing. Even smart business people, everybody who has success in their life generally lives in the land of reality, because that's the only way you achieve a level of success. And when it comes to not mentioning Meghan much, I'm not necessarily surprised by that. I'm surprised he didn't call her M, because they're H&M, but it just doesn't seem like things are going particularly well. And that's why he's leaning back on the UK. I feel like if things were going fine in Hollywood, they were very successful, Harry would be, basically looking in his rearview mirror, coming back on a victory tour. But no, this is basically an apology tour. It's an I failed tour. And truth is something Harry has no relationship with at this point. And it's because if he looked at the truth, then he would have to realize how many incredibly stupid and destructive decisions he's made over the last 5 years. And he can't handle that reality.
100%. And then The Guardian goes on, Brittany, which brings him to the very public things he has said about his life. The interviews, the TV series, and the book he wrote, Spare. Harry says, I know that speaking out annoys some people and it goes against the narrative. The book? It was just a series of corrections to stories already out there. One point of view had already been put out and it needed to be corrected. He adds, I don't believe that I aired my dirty laundry in public. It was a difficult message, but I did it in the best way possible. My conscience is clear. And that is where, Brittany, I just have my head in my hands and I think, we're not dealing with a sane individual. Seriously, we are not dealing with a sane individual. The stories were not out there. You lying fool. William's a bully. William physically abused me. The messages between Catherine and Meghan trying to claim that she's some type of bitch. I'm speechless.
I mean, again, Harry is rewriting history here, because honestly, we did not need to know that he lost his virginity in a field or about his frostbitten penis in Westminster Abbey. Like, we didn't need to know any of those things. And yet Harry told us all of these things in his book. So this idea that he's just out there correcting a narrative, I'm like, I'm sorry, but what narrative did you correct? It's not a narrative. You just inserted your version of events, which is not correct. That he's talking about, that he's correcting the narrative. It's really quite arrogant and foolish and stubborn, because he doesn't like to be called stubborn. Because what he did is pour out a series of things that were public, but showing his side, and then also things that we didn't need to know about or didn't care to know about, and claiming that he didn't air his dirty laundry. Again, I don't need to know about his frostbitten penis during his brother's wedding. Like, why in the world do we need to know that? He is utterly and completely a deluded fool. He has no concept and grasp on reality. Like, you can't deal with somebody like this.
And the thing is, Brittany, as well, remember, okay, he can make himself look like as much of a fool as he wants. But remember, he revealed some of the most personal details about conversations that, for example, King Charles had with him on the day of his own father's funeral, or apparently Prince William's view about how he feels about becoming king. So there was more personal information which the public never knew and never needed to know in this book than any tabloid revelation ever. And this is a huge risk. I mean, again, I will just stress again, Prince William is right. All of those wicked witches like Camilla Tominay are completely wrong. Harry has proven himself to be completely intransigent and totally not reflective about the damage that he's caused as well. It's quite truly astonishing.
Zoom out. The public mood hasn't magically flipped. Polls still have Harry near the bottom. Mainstream outlets dabbling in Sussex rehab are getting roasted in their own comments, and Invictus, meant to be the focus, was eclipsed by palace drama and media crossfire. Now the calls are back. Strip the Duke divided by Duchess branding. Cut the access. End the confusion over security and status. Fair or not, that's the drumbeat. Whether you see Harry as a whistleblower with principles or a reckless operator burning his last bridges, this week didn't heal a thing. It hardened battle lines.
And that's very interesting, Brittany, because it leads into the next part of the interview where Nick Hopkins writes, being called stubborn slightly rankles with Harry. It's not stubbornness, it is having principle. It seems he does not want to prolong any legal battles. He does not ever expect to get positive coverage from some quarters. A ceasefire is perhaps the best he can hope for. It is not about revenge, it is about accountability, he says. Nor does he want to prolong any divisions with his family, but in life, he says, you cannot have reconciliation before you have truth. Well, Brittany, again, total rubbish. He wants revenge. He's been trying to get Piers Morgan jailed, for God's sake, over historic phone hacking allegations. So at least admit what you're trying to do.
Exactly, that he's proclaiming that this is all part of his principles and that he's just trying to get truth and accountability. I mean, nothing could be further. What he's trying to do is assert his truth. He's basically trying to dominate the coverage of himself and create an alternative reality where he's perfect and wonderful and Meghan's amazing and that we all love them indefinitely. Like I tell them, buy a village in Siberia and write your own paper, and then you can write whatever the heck you want. The rest of us in the real world, we see other things, and that he can't acknowledge that, and that yes, he may say something and he may think that it should be perceived in a certain way and we perceive it the opposite way. Well, Harry, that's your problem because you're not communicating well. That's not our problem, that's yours. And so Harry has no accountability for anything. Like, he claims he wants other people to take accountability. He's the worst at it. He's made the most terrible, destructive decisions over the last 5 years and can take no responsibility for them. I've always said, even if a reconciliation were to occur, Charles cannot do it unless Harry acknowledges fault, unless Harry acknowledges the mistakes he's made. Because if you don't do that, Harry's going to walk all over you because he hasn't learned anything. Harry needs to learn lessons here, and he's not there, and you can't have a relationship with somebody like that at this point.
And then he talks about his time in the army. Because remember, Brittany, again, lost within this article is the fact that it's actually meant to be promoting Invictus, the organization for which his own role is now under threat, for exactly this reason, Brittany, exactly this reason, because he turned something that's meant to be about Invictus into an attempt to slag off the royal family yet again. But he says, I would say that I have been fortunate. The one thing that people miss when they hang up their uniform is purpose, losing a sense of community and being part of a team, and of course the camaraderie and adrenaline. But at the heart of it is your job. Your role is serving a purpose larger than yourself. His work for Invictus, he says, has given him that after his military career. It saved me. But then comes the really difficult part of this interview for the British government. And I'll explain, but let me just read to you how The Guardian reports it. After this visit, the prince disappears. His car heads off away from the convoy for about an hour. And when he returns to the group, he is coy and tight-lipped. The suspicion is that he has gone to meet Volodymyr Zelensky, but neither he nor the president wants to admit it. Zelensky is a champion of the Invictus Games and had made it known he wanted to meet the prince. The British government had made it known to Zelensky it would rather he did not. That was the chat in diplomatic circles at least. The theory was that giving the rebel royal a platform might not be smart politics on a day that Britain's new Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper was also in town. But only one Briton is making any headlines in Ukraine on Friday. So let me be very clear about this, Brittany, and what happened here. Harry is a traitor. He ignored the British government because of his own ego. And as a result, really, everyone should be washing their hands of this man now.
I mean, this example is, again, Dan, why the titles should be stripped and the place in the line of succession. Harry is a loose cannon. He cannot follow directions. He cannot even hold his tongue in an interview when he knows he's on full display to the world. You cannot trust this man. And so in order to address this, you have to take the most extreme measures, because Harry is just going to constantly push the boundaries because they've never been put in place in the first place.
Indeed. And the thing is, Brittany, when you actually look at Harry in Ukraine, his image that he wants to present is totally at odds with what we saw in The Guardian. Watch this.
No idea. When you're standing in front of you, you have no idea how...
Bigger and bigger.
I don't know how to describe it. It's the most insanely sad yet beautiful thing. Because the way that it's been set out, all the love and the attention and the care that's gone into every photo frame, every flag, every memento, it's extraordinary. I've never experienced anything like that.
And The Guardian concludes their bombshell interview with Prince Harry like this. By the end of the visit, he has so many bags of presents to take home, including a dagger hidden inside an ornate walking stick. They take up most of the free space. Then again, I laughed. In the back of the private jet that returns him to the UK. So, yep, the climate change activist, the clean travel activist is still taking private jets everywhere, folks. He puts it down to the fact he served 10 years in the army and the way Ukrainians have adopted the ideas of the Invictus Foundation. He is told that Rudeniev thought part of the reason people liked him was because he is quite Ukrainian in his attitude to life. He does his own thing in his own way. Well, that's for sure. You know else who did that? Says Prince Harry. My mum. And there he goes again, invoking the spirit of Princess Diana to try and excuse the inexcusable. This was an absolutely catastrophic moment for Prince Harry. And again, let me just stress, all official ties between him, the British government, and the royal family now need to be cut. This man is not just a threat to the monarchy, he is now a threat to national security.
Your turn. Did this Guardian play prove Harry can't be trusted, or is it the press spinning a principled stand into treachery? Drop your take in the comments. Hit like if you think the peace summit was dead on arrival, and subscribe. We'll cut through the noise as this blows up.